The Susan Brender Show is a radio show online broadcasted on YouTube across the United States and globally. The show features guests who speak about health, spirituality, entertainment, and a host of subjects to enlighten people across the nation. Listen to the show that empowers women and men alike and highlights those who have made a difference. I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. Today I'm very pleased to have Mitch Heuer on the show, who is part of the International Home Relief. In fact, I believe that he's actually started it, and if not, he'll tell you. Now, with that in mind, I just want you to know that this is an organization that is very special, and in times like now, it is the type of organization that really is needed by the U.S. So I want to welcome Mitchell to the show, and also my co-host, Rhonda Farrah, who happens to be an amazing woman who does all kinds of psychology and is a very inspirational person. So with that said, let's start again the show. So the first question that I have, which is really very important, is to know a little bit about the International Home Relief, Mitchell, because people, maybe I'm guessing, but people don't really know enough about it, and I want them to. So with that said, please give us a little understanding of what it is.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. It's my pleasure to be on your show. And yes, you're correct that International Home Relief is a new nonprofit, and it came about because I see firsthand how difficult it is to build homes, and I keep following the affordable housing crisis, the homeless crisis, and I see that there's a growing number of inadequate folks with inadequate housing all across the globe, and that number sadly keeps growing. It's estimated that this number of inadequate housing for people is going to be somewhere around 3 billion by the year 2050. So I just had that little voice on my shoulder a long time ago, a couple of years ago, that said, you know, hey, what's going on with people responding to disaster and home rebuilding and the state of affairs with affordable housing, supply and demand is just getting worse, and somebody needed to do something about it. And then the other little voice said, well, how about you? And so here I am.
Oh, well, that's terrific. Now, you know, every organization has a mission and has a vision and a goal. And what I wonder, and I'm thinking that people need to understand the objective of the International Home Relief.
Sure. The objective of International Home Relief is to actually build homes. There's other organizations out there that have had efforts in doing so. Some do a great job. Habitat for Humanity is one of them that does a fantastic job. One of the reasons, one of the catalysts that caused me to start this nonprofit was the failure by the Red Cross after the earthquake in Haiti. They did a great job of raising money to the tune of $500 million, yet they only built 6 homes, and I was completely floored by that number, and that's why I said somebody's got to do something about it. So that is our mission, is to actually build homes. We don't get bogged down with policy and other things like that. Our goal is to actually do the building. So that's where we're coming in.
That's very interesting and very important, as our audience would absolutely love to hear a little bit more, because this organization is really involved in a lot. Now, with that said, Mitchell, I am interested, you know, we have an immigration issue coming up. It's really been a problem, a major problem. Are you going to build houses for people who are immigrants without any documents?
Well, I don't want to get into the political debate about who deserves a home. I'll let others take on that. But sure, we will build homes for anybody that contracts with us to do so, and wherever the philanthropy money will take us. Right now we're looking at a project in Ethiopia. We have almost signed on the dotted line for the land, which is a big part of any equation in affordable housing. And to be honest, we're just waiting for that special somebody out there in philanthropy to give us a shot in the arm to make things happen. We can serve immigrants. We can serve all types of different demographics.
Yeah. Now, your organization has a similar mission that could be different if it really wanted to get the money. How would you change what you already have and make it an organization that really is allowed to and can do a lot of offering of housing? Because there are so many people after, again, we're in this pandemic. I don't want to make it a political issue, but so many people are out of work, and they've been out of work for a long time, and they can't pay for their houses. They can't pay for their apartments. So are you addressing that situation?
Well, we certainly could. The keystone to making international home relief work is absolutely funding. It's donations. It's philanthropy. It's that wealthy philanthropist that has the pocketbook that wants to see a serious change to a serious crisis. We can be that serious player. So once again, that's what all this hinges on. And to answer your question as to how we would do it differently, there's lots of different things that come into play there. And then you also talked about folks in the pandemic that are out of work. Well, we can address all of that, and we can address it really quickly. And the way that we would do that is the method that we solve this crisis is through what we call the leasing of a portable rapid home building factory. So if you can envision a area that needs a lot of houses, we would come in there with our equipment, and it's essentially a factory on wheels, and it would go from one home site to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And it is capable with robotics and other types of equipment to do what's called lights out machining. So we can create a home with very little human interaction for a lot of the build, while 24/7, lights out machining 24/7. And we can also show the people that perhaps that are out of work and looking for work, we can show them how they could become a contractor on their own for a small business or even a larger business. And the method that we would use with that is another product that we lease is a micro manufacturing plant. And so those small plants can be leased by an individual or an entity, and they create large Lego-type building blocks. And the advantage of these Lego-type building blocks is they're insulated from the get-go. They're fairly easy to handle. They're large enough that you see quick results as you build. And let's face it, there's a lot of people that know how to build with Legos. And so we're just taking the Lego and making it quite a bit bigger. And we build very high quality homes. It's not very often that you get less expensive, high quality, and right now. Like if you went into a car dealership and say, I want the best car for the best price and I want it now, you just don't get that. But with this, we get very close to accomplishing that. So we can show the people that are out of work how to build homes. And there's a lot of homes to be built, and we need a lot of help to do it.
You know, I only have one word to say for that, and the word that I want to say is wow. That is amazing. You know, I think about all the time and the time that people are looking for something that can take away the edge, take away the situation. Rhonda, let me ask you something. You know that people are hurting right now, and this Mitchell, excuse me, I'm going to say your name wrong again, but Heuer, he's doing so much for the people. Okay, Rhonda,
yes.
What kind of what would you say to him? Because it's work that is very hard, and he's really doing a great job. So I want him to get a little inspiration. So what would you say to him?
Well, here's the thing, Susan, and Mitch as well, and it's great being here again with both of you. First of all, I applaud International Home Relief. for what you are doing and being very clear on your objective to build homes. And if you want some inspiration, you are inspiring others, because a home is a representation of stability and solidarity, not only physically, but especially in these fearful and uncertain times. You are providing a gift and a blessing emotionally as well to those that might not otherwise have a home, or have the home with respect to the quality that you're building a home. So you are an inspiration, and the best way to inspire others is to be that. So if you want to inspire others, you, in fact, Mitchell, are inspiring others with respect to the work you are doing through International Home Relief.
Well, thank you.
Mitchell, one of the things that I'm interested in knowing is that, do you have a lot of volunteers helping you? And if so, how do you find them? How do they find you to really put together these homes? Because needless to say, if you hired people and had to pay for them, it would cost a fortune. So I'm sure you have a lot of volunteers, and volunteers are very important. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, if you may.
Okay, let me circle back to that in just a second, if I may. I wanted to address some of the things that Rhonda mentioned there. So I agree with what Rhonda is saying, and she's probably well aware of the work that Andrew Maslow did and his hierarchy of needs. And that was pointed out to me by a comment that I had made from what I was doing to someone. I can't remember who that was. And what I had said was something to the effect that what I'm doing will give people shelter, and then all kinds of good things to humanity can come from that, things that we can't even think of or imagine. But examples would be quite literally the cure for cancer or some other serious disease could come from the results of what we're doing, or arts and humanity, and on and on the list would go. And the reason that would happen is because there's so many people and young people that are burdened with looking for shelter, fixing their shelter, inadequate shelter. It's a burden on their mind and their time. So if we take that away, that burden away, that opens up their time and their availability and all their faculties to do something greater. So a young child could say, oh, I don't have to worry about my folks' home anymore. I can go to college, and that person may come up with the cure for cancer. And Andrew Maslow, he said it best with his hierarchy of needs. So I agree with that. And that's a big motivator for me, because I want to see those changes. And so to get to the volunteer part, I've had some experience working with a lot of volunteers over my life. I was a natural home building instructor for a nonprofit down in Moab, Utah called Community Rebuilds, a really nice, affordable home building nonprofit that works around the Moab, Utah area. And so I worked with volunteers on that, and I was lucky enough to be invited to participate in one of Extreme Makeover's home editions. We were in Salisbury, Maryland, and a young man was helping his mom fix up the house, and unfortunately he had an accident and cut one of his hands off. And the crew came in, and we demolished the old house and rebuilt the new one, and the volunteers that showed up to that event were just amazing. There was a big tent for them, and they waited. And I can remember one evening that, because I have an excavation background, and so the thing was going on for a few days, and it was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and I woke up from a cat nap, and I went to the job site, and it was raining. I'm looking around. There was nobody working, yet the home was ready to be backfilled. So I checked with the supervisor that was on duty, and I said, hey, this thing looks like it's ready to be backfilled. Can I go ahead and grab some volunteers to do it? And they checked, and sure enough, they allowed us to do it. So I went over to the tent where all the volunteers were, and it was, late at night. And I said, hey, I'm looking for some volunteers that aren't afraid to get wet. And they said, hey, you're in luck. It's the Salisbury swim team from the college. And so all these college kids from the college, from the swim team at the college, they came out and helped me, and we picked up all kinds of pieces of trash, and we moved a big light generator out of our way, and And then we started backfilling the foundation. And then there was one kind of special moment. There's a little trench that needed to be hand dug for an electrician and to bury a conduit, and we had to do it by hand. And so it's raining, and I have all these volunteers out there, and I said, hey, we need this trench dug. Here's some shovels, and had some volunteers jump in the little ditch there and started digging. This one nice young lady looks up at me and she said, "You're the best boss ever."
Now, that's interesting, Mitchell, because, you see, people appreciate people like you. Now, Rhonda, step right in, and he just said that he worked with volunteers. We live in a time where everybody seems to be isolated, even though they're coming out slowly, okay? Now, if you, think about it for a second. If you're building houses and you have to volunteer and you're told that you have to wear a mask, stay inside, be distant, what do you say to that when the time has come where people are getting shots and they're getting over the problem? This is a very important question. And the question is, Rhonda, if you had to talk to the volunteers, what would you say to them?
Well, let me tell you, Susan as well as Mitch, what I would say to the volunteers is really clear and concise. The fact that they're volunteering is they're working their purpose. They understand, they're living their purpose. And our purpose here, my opinion of our purpose here on Earth as Earthlings is to be of service to others. And if, in fact, you are volunteering in a project like this in these chaotic, these uncertain times, then to go even one step further and understand that there is a protocol now. It's called wearing a mask. It's called social distancing as much as possible. So you're not only willing, volunteers, to take on this time as a volunteer to be in service to others, to help others to heal from whatever they need to be healing from. Right. You are willing to go the extra yard and wear a mask. I can only imagine that wearing a mask is, I'm a runner, and I don't wear a mask when I run because it's extremely debilitating. However, to do that in the light of volunteering to help others to be on a stable and a sound ground is exceptional. So the volunteers have a really important part, and I do like the fact that you talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because without the volunteers, that physical aspect cannot come to fruition, your objective to build homes. And without the physical aspect then those people that can contribute with respect to whatever their purpose is to this earth globally are at a loss to do that the way that they could be doing it. So, again, not only is International Home Relief to be applauded and to be understood for the blessing and for the gift that it is, but the volunteers, who certainly make up a large part of that, I imagine, should be applauded. And they are an inspiration because they are fulfilling the objective of International Home Relief.
Right. I always ask my guest, this is really for you, Mitchell. I always ask my guests, if you had the last word, what would you tell the audience? Because there is so much that you're doing, and we've talked about it, and you're serving a purpose, as Rhonda says. So I'd like to know if there's anything you want to leave us with. And last but not least, how do you do the fundraising? Because fundraising is not easy, and we know that, okay? So give us the last word and also tell our audience how they can help out. Will you please do that?
Sure. Okay. Thank you. And yes, I agree with Rhonda. The volunteers are a critical part to it, and we appreciate and applaud them as well. I would say that for the last words is, we're not doing this on our own. The Creator is looking down upon us and helping and encouraging us to bring the volunteers in and embrace the indigenous folks that we work with, all in communion together, working for a very lofty goal. And I would say the ask for International Home Relief from the listeners would be to simply share the word and spread the word with their network and the people of influence, and direct them to the website so we can find that philanthropist out there that's just waiting in the wings for International Home Relief, and we can be off and running.
There you go. Well, our guest today has been Mitch Heuer. Okay, so Mitch Heuer has been a fabulous guest, and he's really doing a lot of great work. So with that said, he's making an impact on the world and an impact on what's going on in this country to help people find housing. But I want to also do something else. At the end of the show each week, we are going to have an expert in lifestyle empowerment, and that is Rhonda Farrah. She will be adding her respected voice to the Susan Brender Show each week. Rhonda will be contributing a 3-minute spot to share with the audience her insights and how to live the life we desire, regardless of the situation, circumstances, or of an event, rather than settling for less year after year and living life in a default mode. And my guest was a really wonderful guest, Rhonda, and you are going to give people a lot of information and a lot of education, and I thank you for being my co-host on the Susan Brender Show.
It is my pleasure, as always, Susan. And with respect to summing it up, again, I applaud Mitchell and International Home Relief. I applaud the volunteers that are being of service to others in this chaotic, this uncertain time, this really fearful time. And they are providing not only a home, not only an ability to survive, but they are providing an ability to thrive. And that is the gift and the blessing with respect to this pandemic time, with respect to this unprecedented time, and which is what I speak about when it comes to lifestyle empowerment. We can utilize the good in our life, the joys, as well as the not so good, those sorrows, those struggles, those challenges, and we've certainly experienced that for the best of 2 years now, adversity, some more than others. However, with respect to being the gift and being the blessing, International Home Relief, Mitchell, your organization, the volunteers that make it up, everyone that makes it up, are doing good things for humanity by providing for that stability and that solidarity, that opportunity to not only shelter yourself physically, but to understand that everyone matters, everyone is important. What they have to say and what they do is important. And by providing the means through a home for them to be stabilized and solid on those grounds, no pun intended, will in fact provide the ability for them to thrive and for them to contribute globally. Once we get this planet in better shape than it is now, and it is through these times that we're actually having that opportunity to put this planet in better straits, the sky is the limit. And that's really the way I feel. And Mitchell, you and International Home Relief, you have a vision, and your vision is, in fact, as I've often said, that everyone matters, everyone is important, everyone is enough, and you are, in fact, the living, breathing proof of that. So I thank you for providing the shelter, for providing the shell, if you will, so that it's not just survival, but it's the ability to thrive and the ability to have the courage and the boldness to thrive in whatever you have been put on this earth to do. So thank you, Mitchell, and thank you, International Home Relief, and thank you, Susan.
Stay tuned for the next show that we're going to do with Rhonda. It's going to be a very interesting one, and we have a lot of guests coming up, and I really, truly appreciate guests like Mitch Heuer and Rhonda Farrah. Thank you.